Minutes after, at that 1 minute after the hour. This will be recorded for posterity. And I'm gonna try and zip through some of the early slides because I've done them before. I wanted to focus on kind of the two new things that are coming. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen. I just want to make sure. Yeah. Okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So Truman Hunt was an interim CEO of the company. Was about the history. Today we're going to go over the history.
Bob, you can put me on co-host because sometimes people make noise. You cannot hear. You just keep talking, but very big, very noise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I help you to mute people. Yeah. Last time you just keep talking.
Let me get you and make you. Thanks, Lily. That's a great idea.
You're welcome.
Co-host. Okay. Yeah, because people come on and they're in a car and on another cell phone. We're all multitasking all the time.
Yes.
Thanks, Lily. Okay. So Truman Hunt was interim CEO. We'll go over kind of the founding and rush through sort of the history of it and get to the future because that's what interests me all the time. He was asked what's the secret sauce of Nu Skin? And he said there's three things. Just like real estate is location, location, location. For Nu Skin, it's innovate, innovate, innovate. And this is a picture around Christmas time of the Innovation Center, which was built next to the 9-story tower with offices, and that innovation center is ours. As they built it for us. Anyone can go and book meeting rooms and it's a site for several fly-ins we'll talk about. I've talked about my background. This is my why. We had some, we came for the immunity. I signed on for the annuity and we stayed for the community. When Leah and I met, she had a fibroid. We weren't going to be able to have children. We were going to need a hysterectomy. We went to a Chinese medicine doctor who specialized in growths. And besides eye of newt and tail of dog and weird things, I don't know if you've ever done traditional Chinese medicine with the herbal sides of it. But it can be smelly and strange. But there were 2 green bottles, and I just had started on Pharmanex myself in Hong Kong because I had cold after flu. Southern China's the ground zero for all global pandemics: swine flu, avian flu, SARS, Hong Kong flu in 1967 killed 3 million people around the world. So, and I went, first to Watson's and Manning's, which are kind of the CVS and Walgreens of Asia, and there's no there in vitamins. And we'll explain about multi-level markup and why retail is not a good place to buy beauty or health products. And so I knew, I said, those 2 green bottles, that's my brand. He said, yep, the green tea is pharmaceutical grade. It's used in cancer research in the US. And the reishi, they're the only one who knows to cold crack the spore of the mushroom. And I had no idea what he was talking about, but I do now. 28 years on, and it shrunk Leah's fibroid tumor. It's not a cancer, but it does grow, and by about half. And the OBGYN had never seen anything like that, and was able to save her uterus. So we have these 2 kids as a result. I was really we were just consumers, and we'll go through the numbers on this company. Almost 90% of members in the company are just pure customers. And I wasn't interested. I was making a lot of money in finance, but I knew the importance of multiple streams of recurring income. And so I did. Amy Yip, who was my sponsor, she's on the Pat and Marguerite's every other month on the Zoom spa. She does things about the spa and lymphatic drainage and health. But she was smart. She drove the line. She asked me who I knew in Japan. We were opening in Japan, and Mayumi Jones said she would be, an executive. And she used the FOMO, the fear of missing out, and said, if Mayumi becomes an executive, you aren't. She'll roll up past you, and all that income's forever lost. So I engaged in a desultory or kind of half-baked way. had like 2 meetings a month and got to be an executive just to preserve that status. Miami dropped out after a month. Most people, the attrition in our business is high. People quit because they don't, they get a few no's and they're done. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning how to sell, and I really believed in the products because I'd seen what's happening. I didn't mind when friends teased me and they called me Amway Bob and things like that. And once I left the big firm and set up on my own, timing in life and love is everything. In 2008, I set up my own global hedge fund, and we did fine, but our clients all ran for the foxholes, and we were losing $50,000 a month. And between big house mortgage in Hawaii and the business was draining. And I needed money, like I needed oxygen. I couldn't go back to work. Wall Street was was firing, so no one would take you back. So I engaged and worked with Amy, and we built in Asia. Really, the fun part of it, the best part of it, is friends who teased me that way about it 20 years ago. Well, they're all older, and many of them, if they're still working, are working twice as hard for half the money. So it really is what I do love at this point in my journey with Nu Skin is the community. It's people. Some of them are on this call. Dr. Suzanne. We share a mission of health and financial freedom that is very rare and needed right now all over the world. So we came for the immunity. I signed on for the annuity, and we stay for the community. So that's my story, and we're sticking to it. So these are the three co-founders. Blake Roney is on the left. Sandy Tillotson in the center, and Steve Lund. Sandy's still kind of involved in a really wonderful way. She'll meet with people at some of the fly-ins and so forth. The three of them were in another network marketing company. It was a weight loss program, the Cambridge Diet Plan. And, there's nothing like losing weight, talking about viral marketing, when people, unfortunately, everyone notices when you lose or you gain weight, way too much. But it worked it worked. There was a rebound to it, but, people lose weight in the beginning. And unfortunately, the founder wasn't particularly a good businessman or scrupulous, because after a while, the checks bounced and the company was investigated by the FTC. And they decided, let's find another net. We like the dynamics in network marketing. We'll talk about those dynamics and some of the negative impressions of it. But then they said, well, why don't we set up our own? And really, that way we know we're going to survive. We're not going to be, shafted by some unscrupulous person. And they went around and they decided to go into skincare, because skincare was overpriced and ripe for disruption. And their philosophy was all of the good, none of the bad. And to demonstrate this difference, and we used to do what Alan Nagel calls the magic show. You can look up in YouTube the Nu Skin, the magic show, and see some of them. But it was just for example, what most moisturizers use is mineral oil. It's cheap and cheerful. It's 70 cents a pound. It sounds wonderful. Mineral oil. No, it's a petroleum byproduct of the distillation of petroleum. It's very cheap. And we used, from the very beginning, something called NAPCA. It's the skin's natural humectant. We have a product called NAPC Moisture Mist. And it's $240 a pound. So, most skincare companies who have to go through multi-level markup to sell at retail will not use an expensive ingredient. This really, it was choices like that. Cold pressed aloe vera, no one has it. Everyone else heat pasteurizes their aloe and ruins the healing properties. These decisions forced us out of multi-level markup and retail and into some form of direct sales. There have been two transformative acquisitions in 1996. I believe Pharmanex was in Thousand Oaks, California, and Steve Hatchett, who's number two in the company, was providing packaging to both companies, and he brokered a marriage. They had set up a really, top-rate supplement company. Western pharmaceutical science meets traditional Chinese medicine. Two Chinese American medical researchers, both named Chang, no relation, had set up Pharmanex with mission similar to us, of all the good, none of the bad. But it didn't sell very well because it's pricier than the store brands in a Walgreens or a CVS. And so the company was up for sale. Pharmaceutical companies were sniffing and circling, and they decided they didn't want to be second fiddle in a pharma company where they've been there and done that. and they merged with New Skin. And there was a scanner. We'll talk about the scanner history that was developed to prove that your vitamins. We're the only one who can prove that your vitamins are being absorbed. We only nutritional supplements in the physician's desk reference, and the only one to win the sponsorship of the entire U.S. Olympic team, the 5 golden rings. And no other supplement company before or since has had that honor. So it really is, I mean, there's just nothing like it. If you want supplements that work and that are proven, we'll cover that a bit more. So then the next acquisition was University of Wisconsin spinoff called LifeGen Technologies. And from that came AgeLock, which is about 60% of our total sales. And we'll talk about that. But moving back to all the good, none of the bad, and we've redesigned the Nutricentials line, which was, very affordable skincare, and added plant magic to it. And we have, some of the leading ethnobotanists on the planet working in our labs. And plants have to survive hot and cold, dry and humid, and particularly UV. And we put some of those ingredients that sense, does your skin need less or more hydration day by day? And, people will change based on the seasons or, the day of the month even. And my wife, who's been using AgeLock, she actually really likes this. It just feels really good. I think there are now 16 different products in the bioadaptive botanicals. There's a whole line of foundation that combines moisturizer, sun protection, and even tone of the skin. So what are our science resources? We have 75 research scientists on staff. It's 150 on an advisory board. It's a who's who of anti-aging. This is like a big pharmaceutical company. This is like an Eli Lilly focused on healthy aging. We do research tie-ups with universities and research labs. We've got 2 big innovation centers. I showed you the picture in Provo, and there's one in Shanghai. And people beat a path to our door. Distribution is king. And when you have, 100,000 active distributors around the world, people with ideas come to you. This is Provo. We have fly-ins Friday and Saturday, usually the third Friday, Saturday of each month. And December is usually different because of Christmas. You must come to Success Summit. Leaders are made and built at events. And it's really about belief. Whatever we do is about belief. Come up to the lab and see what's on this lab. When you see what's doing, when you hear people, like the scientists, talk about what they're doing. I haven't visited the production facility in Pudong. It's a science neighborhood and business neighborhood in Shanghai. We're the #1 home beauty device brand in the world. I think it's now through 2022 as well, 5 years running. And, the competitors like Clarisonic, which makes rotating brushes that were unhygienic and filled with virus and bacteria and irritated the skin, they've exited. We're it. I've seen some imitators. That blue-headed device is what I'll focus on. It is amazing. It's really easy to demonstrate in 60 seconds on the back of someone's hand, put it on their lymph nodes to drain the eye bag. Very easy to demonstrate. And it cleans those cups as they rotate, create a gentle suction, and it anti-ages at the same time with our proprietary AgeLock cleansing gel. And the results are instant and cumulative. I mean, talking about Pharmanex, we no longer have the physician's desk reference. Just because we're no longer, kind of given up going into the medical channel because medicine in the U.S. is kind of in full collapse and consolidating. There are very few independents that would pick up, a scanner and a supplement line. I've tried for 3 years to put the scanner in doctors' offices, and they said, well, I wish you'd been here 5 years ago. We're selling out to Straub or Kaiser, or I'm retiring. I can't handle, the insurance companies anymore. But it really is, this is the only, if you're going to take a supplement, this is the one you should take. And this is the history of the scanner. It's a Nobel Prize winning technology in 1928. Dr. C.V. Raman, not ramen like soup noodles, but a Malaysian of Indian extraction, discovered shine a coherent light at any surface and it bounces off, and you can, tell the unique contents of that. So for 6 decades, it was used in industrial applications. We fire lasers at the moon to see if it's made of green cheese. and it was a nurse put her hand in the beam. It was a laser when it was being developed, and she got a reading. And we realized rather than shining light into the macula, and this was a National Institute of Health study on macular degeneration and how to prevent it. It's actually, NIH looks at, the aging baby boomers and shudders in horror. And it actually, the most expensive malady is not Alzheimer's, heart disease, or cancer. Those people exit the planet, but it's actually going to be loss of vision, which 2/3 of aging Americans will do. And so protecting the macula from UV and macular degeneration is key. So they were shining a light to measure something called carotenoids, which are plant-based antioxidants that do have that defense. And they found out you could do it on the skin rather than on the hand rather than the eye. So the second acquisition, we acquired that technology, paid $34 million for it at the Moran Eye Institute at the University of Utah, where it's being developed. So the second big acquisition was LifeGen Technologies, and they were doing research in primates and freezing tissue samples and they were researching something called caloric restriction, which is, from the 1880s, the Scandinavian mini ice age, crops failed 5 years running. Scandinavians had a very calorie restricted diet, and they survived. And paradoxically, 40 years later, Scandinavians are very long lived. And three researchers, MDs, did research, the definitive study in 1925, I think, on caloric restriction. And the idea was to look at the mechanism, what happens, genetically with caloric restriction, and try to duplicate that without canceling dinner reservations for the rest of our lives. And this is kind of, we're going to geek out a little bit. This is the genomics of what, has been uncovered and what is age lock. So everyone here has, on this call, you all have the same genes you had when you were 9 or 19, right? I'm not mutated. Lily's not a Martian. Dr. Suzanne is not from Venus, although she could be Venus. What's going on? There are 23,000 genes that, what is this aging? There are 23,000 genes that explain who we are. And this was from in 2003, the NIH team in Bethesda and the Human Genome Project beat a French team by 2 weeks and won $1 million for using, the supercomputers at that time to decode the human genome. So 23,000 genes decide our hair color, body size, skin, predilection to disease. And they were, on top of that, were 80,000 genes that were unexplained, and they were called junk or garbage DNA at the time. And there's just no way our creator in her wisdom would have, 4/5 of our genetic material being junk or vestigial. And the research since then has been, what the heck do these genes do? And what they do is they act as switches, and they sit on top of the underlying genes, and they turn them up or down. And everything we eat and drink, smoke, and yoga, and meditate, and even love and are loved affects genetic expression. And the loving and being loved you'll get in the new skin ohana and hopefully elsewhere in your life. But we focus on mostly natural ingredients that turn skin and internal body functions younger. And so as you get older, the genes that were protecting you, that are turned on in red, well, it all goes pear-shaped, as my English friends say, and it goes into the opposite. What we're able to do is find mostly natural ingredients, not all, but mostly to turn gene expression younger. I mean, one of the top-selling products for a long time was ageLOC Youth. It's based on research into the blue zones of the planet. And Joe Chang says if there's one product you should take, this is it. And this is the blue zones. You maybe have seen this graphic before. It's places where people live young a long time, like Okinawa, Japan, the Mediterranean diet there in the middle. On the left, Peruvian blue corn or purple corn. It's not the blue corn in our tortilla chips. It's only grown in the Andes. I've been to Machu Picchu, fabulous. And the people there are poor at the equator at altitude, and yet, because they're eating this and drinking it every single day, they look amazing. So we develop a lot of things internally, but sometimes we're spurred by the competition. So in the early 2000s, there were all these silly juice companies coming up. I mean, the grandmama of that is noni, which is a Hawaiian cactus, which heals the dead, raises the dead, and heals the blind. And the claims from this were pretty silly. And then Lily, I think it might be Horace, if you can mute him. Thanks. And these were bright, shiny objects that were these new juice companies, and many of them were MLMs, multi-level marketing companies. And we measure them, and like acai, which has the highest ORAC value in a petri dish, i.e. antioxidants outside the body, it doesn't survive the havoc of the digestive system. So we went out and we researched every fruit and vegetable on the planet. And these are the 4 that we found, which really optimize the carotenoids that give your skin and your eyes and your whole body protection against free radical damage. So, this is our answer to all these other companies. Most of these have fallen by the wayside. I mentioned that innovation comes to Nu Skin. This is the product that launched us into social media. I think it was the 2 English women said, I think people want whiter teeth. And they looked in our catalog and they started marketing this on Facebook, and a whole sort of new marketing channel opened up. It was brought to us by dentists who had developed it. And it does take off all plaque immediately, no new plaque for 24 hours. So you won't need a dental scraping again, and you probably can prospect your dental hygienist when he or she sees you. And so, I tried to market a temperature regulating clothing for hot flashes. Company said, no, it's not a recurring revenue product. But I asked them, how many pitches do you get like mine today? And they said, we get 2 good pitches a week and many more that we won't even listen to. Another innovation is in charity. If you know anything about charities, a lot of the money is wasted on admin. And this is our force for good, which really the most amazing part of it is something called Nourish the Children. We're trying to wipe out childhood hunger on this planet. We started in Malawi, Africa, and where we have succeeded. And it's AIDS ridden and has a terrible cycle of droughts and floods. And the company covers all over it. They encourage all active distributors to donate at least 1 bag. I think it's $30 a month now. It's a halal kosher rice and beans mixture that's perfect for a young child who is malnourished. We send it when there's a tsunami or a hurricane or some sort of natural disaster. We'll send bags there, encourage everyone to donate their bags. And if you donate 5 bags, the company will actually match 1. So, UNICEF, the United Nations, Children's Education Fund, that has a 5% impact ratio, meaning admin and other costs are 95%. 95 cents of every dollar you donate goes to UNICEF and not to the children. It's the opposite with Nu Skin. 100%, and actually, if you do the math, 120% if you donate 5 bags. It is tax deductible. Let's talk about what's new. So there's a new sheriff in town in terms of marketing. I'm going to talk about the tip of my spear, which is not a very new product, but I just love it. So you're going to have to hear about it. The gut health, and then Lumi Spa IO and the Well Spa IO, and the use of artificial intelligence, which some of you have maybe seen. There's some very good presentations by Jeff Mack, by Wen Rosencrantz and her husband. So social media shout outs. Remember, Emma Carpenter and I forget the other lady started this by like 10 years ago. I think people want whiter teeth. And that was, social media was basically, buy my product, join my business. And this social media shout outs, it's not direct sales or enrollment. Instead, it's, I know you're not interested in whiter teeth or anything that I'm doing with my business, but please help me. Please help me are the 3 most powerful words in any language. Yes, we fight each other in our families and in Ukraine, but we are hardwired to be a cooperative species. And, if Josephine is a mother, and the demographic of this is single mummies, 2 children, struggling, usually divorced, and usually in a bad way financially, which is what men often do to women. And all they want to do is spend more time with Carolyn and Katrina as they're growing up very fast. And this is a way for them to make money. So they say, Eileen, I know you're not interested. just post, please help me. Just, I want to, spend more time with my kids and pay for the dance lessons. Just post this on your timeline, tag me, and I'll follow up. And then you, after the second time, you say, well, I can Venmo you the retail profit because I make a lot of money on the back end. And then you flip them. You say, you could do this. I'll show you. I'll help you. And you don't even sign them up into the company. You just kind of sneak it in there, and it's really elegant. It's really worked for that demographic, which is a demographic that really needs it. This is an example of maybe a little bit too busy, but our firming cream, we call it, which is the dramatic effects. The pictures are very are ideal for social media. I'm amazed at the collagen. This is a tip of my spear. I'm, tell everyone about it. I'm working with estheticians. Collagen's it's the most abundant protein in the body. It's 30% of total. We lose 1 to 2% a year from age 20. And this is why our skin ages and even our joints hurt. Be quiet about that. We haven't done clinical trials on it, but the competitor, this is the largest supplement category in the world. Costco sells it by the pallet load. And, we've measured them, and they're a 3% increase. The vital proteins, I think, is a 3% increase in collagen. They won't publish any clinicals. If they've done any clinicals, it's so embarrassing that of course they're not going to publish it. There's only one other company, a UK company called SkinAid, that's a 25.5% increase, and is the only viable competitor to us and more expensive. And at Duke University Clinicals, an adjunct professor there measured in just 2 months a 65% increase in skin collagen, 79% if used in conjunction with a LumiSpa twice a day. There is nothing like this. I mean, the results, this is a mother-in-law of Nadine Kokabun, who's the esthetician in my BNI chapter. And we work really well together. And she uses the LumiSpa and the collagen now with all of her clients. And that's her mother-in-law, and that's 1 month. And the lady on the right, yeah, she's younger. You can still see a benefit to that laugh line, the nasolabial fold. But look at the little bit of pigmentation on her left cheek. And, right side, as we look at it, it fades. And that is lutein. So we looked at 143 antioxidants to defend the new collagen strands from UV, which is what it breaks down collagen, and we chose marigold. We chose lutein, and the source is marigold. So it does turn the skin. It has that yellow-orange color because it filters out all UV. If you drink this, you really don't need a sunblock. I mean, if you're stand-up paddling or Mad Dog and Englishman in the noonday sun, yes. And we're the only one who offers a guarantee. You'll look younger. It also, because of the lutein, it raises your score on the scanner, and there's a guarantee about that. Company's done a lot of work recently on the gut, and the gut is where the seat of all immunity. It's called the second brain. The vagus nerve connects the brain to the gut, and this is one of our products and this is now the best-selling product globally.
Lindsay and his team tested the effects of anthocyanins on rats, fattened up on a diet similar to thick shakes, burgers, and fries. The body mass index of these rats is 25 to
Sorry, for some reason it always cuts out. You're going to have to hear it again. This time it'll apply.
Team tested the effects of anthocyanins on rats, fattened up on a diet similar to thick shakes, burgers, and fries. The body mass index of these rats is 25 to 35, equivalent to the BMI of most of the Australian human population. What's happening as a result of obesity in these rats' bodies right now?
Blood pressure is going up quite dramatically. The heart function is going down. The liver function is going down. The abdominal fat pads increase. The hormones go up. The whole of the body is being affected. And that's characteristic of obesity.
And it's all linked together by this inflammatory response.
It's all linked together because the inflammatory response occurs in every organ. There's no organ that is immune from that.
And then, after 8 weeks, he added anthocyanin-rich juice to the food of half the rats.
Much to my surprise, actually, we found that the anthocyanins in purple carrots, in queen garnet plums, in all of these things completely reverse all of those changes. So we haven't changed the diet. They're still getting this high carbohydrate, high fat diet, And yet with that intervention, all of those parameters that characterize obesity are back to normal.
That's incredible.
That is incredible.
The results with rats have led to human clinical trials, which are now underway.
So the results, my cholesterol was a little bit high. I was controlling it with a product called Colestin, the Asian version from the red yeast rice. But since going on Meta plus the Colestin, my cholesterol has plunged the bad cholesterol has plunged by half. And a lot of some of the people in Hawaii, where there's a tendency toward obesity, and several members of my BNI chapter have had the same experience, and now they're ready to try another product which gets at the source, which is a TR90 or TRMe. We have a slew of products around this. New Biome is very popular in the US. It isn't in all the markets, but it's a powdered drink. You have it first thing in the morning, and it's inexpensive, and it has the right sugars to support the healthy bacteria, and it has some postbiotics that imitate the output of good bacteria. There's good and bad bacteria in our gut, and the whole idea is to stop the leaky gut of the toxins that come from the bad bacteria, and to stimulate the good bacteria. There are more bacteria in our gut than there are cells in our body, so it really is where a lot of things happen. And we released about a year ago something to do with ginger and artichoke for people who get stomach upset immediately on eating. So the LumiSpa IO, I've talked about the LumiSpa, the #1 home beauty device in the world now 5 years running. And what we've done is we've improved it. It's a wireless charging that's much more durable head and doesn't break. It's much more water and shock resistance. I was returning about 10% of the old LumiSpas, maybe even 15%. And it was so bad, actually. They set up an automated service in the website to return these products. It was the first generation, and like the Apple computer, the Apple One was Apple II, and the Macintosh. This is amazing. It tracks via an app on your phone. It tracks your usage. It will have product recommendations, and we will be linking Vera with other devices. And let's talk about that. So in the August in Hong Kong, which seems to be for some reason our kind of test market, and in the rest of Asia in the third quarter, and in the Americas in the fourth quarter, we launch what I think could be an absolute blockbuster. Bigger than the LumiSpa IO. It's going to be called WellSpa IO, and what it is body sculpting and firming and detoxing. So it creates muscle movement via some suction. It detects, if you're doing it on your back of your hand versus your thigh, that's a very different part of your body, and it detects, and it has a current like our current galvanic body spa. It will have 100 sensors in it versus 15 in the LumiSpa, which will then give information about our bodies to Vera. It is a microcurrent technology, again, a wireless charging. It's very easy to hold in the hand, and while you're watching a webinar like this, you can be running it over your tummy and shrinking the tummy. Combined with some of our TR90, this is an absolute blockbuster. There's going to be 3 gels with it. One is about cellulite and fat reduction. We currently have the firming cream, which does reduce cellulite. So I would imagine it's a second generation of dramatic effects as a product. The other one is for exercise, either pre and post exercise. So people who have sore muscles and are working out, they would run it, over those muscles first and then afterwards. And then for lymphatic drainage, what in China is called gua sha, really detoxing of the body. This is going to be a 3-in-1 product for body sculpting and firm, and along the way it will firm the skin up as well. So goodbye crepey skin and hanging skin. So some of you have maybe seen Jeff Mack. This is kind of how I interpret it. He's wonderfully emphatic and sometimes repetitive. Here's where we sit. I'm not going to channel my inner Jeff. I'm not him, but what I see is going to happen is we're going to have a personal genetic profile. It's not 23andMe, which dominates this, along with Ancestry.com. It's a startup, as far as I can tell, and I'm not on the inside. I'm not Craig Bryson or Jeff Mack. I haven't had, but this is, I mean, listening to them. And from the genetic profile, we'll recommend customized products by ourselves and lifestyle to improve the issues that we're finding from, spitting and analyzing it, including third parties. It won't be just our own products. And I believe we will have tie-ups with either pharmaceutical companies, and we're getting into sort of prescribing here. So there's a lot of regulatory and privacy issues. And then the other major initiative we've spent now, I think it will be $700 million on emphasis engineers. And emphasis only takes one client in a product category to really concentrate on. So they took Apple and computers, Nike and running shoes, and in health and wellness, they agreed to contract with us. We're spending a lot of money. We embedded something like 90 of their engineers in Provo to build out AI assistants for customizing the products, but also to customize our business. And, the fortune's in the follow-up. How many people actually follow up? We're seeing that a little bit. If you download the app Stella, there is a little bit of follow-up that it recommends. But, I can see it happening, your client Josephine did order the Lumi Spa. It was delivered today. Okay for me to send her a text? How is it going with usage instructions? Yes or no? Yes. And then, a week later, we should follow up with Josephine. Send her the following text. Yes or no? Yes. I'm not privy to this. I haven't seen it, but if I were doing artificial intelligence or algorithmic automation of our business, these are the kinds of things that need to be done, so that it really takes a lot of the time consuming stuff is following up with Josephine and remembering that she, and we have these books, the things that OTG sells, kind of a business diary that remind you, and you have to put it all in there. Stella, the first version of Stella, the business app, sort of has that, and there was New Skin Connect was a precursor to this, but I think they're going to try to get this right. And it's just going to be a work in process to automate our business and make it easier. The way it's going to spread that I see is there will be the Vera app will be downloadable. It is now, and you can send from Vera. You can send Vera to your friend, and Vera would be the app that would collect and give you your genetic profile. So, hey, brother George, we're in our 50s. I've just gotten this genetic profile. Here, I'm sending you a link. Check it out. George says, "Oh, this looks really cool. $100, $99 for my genetic profile and recommendations." Sure, clicks, buys it. He's now in my downline. He doesn't even know it. And this will spread virally, similar to the way Hotmail, if you remember the first sort of viral spread online was Hotmail, which in the bottom of every email was powered by Hotmail. Click here to get yours. This could be absolutely huge. I'm always skeptical when we get into services versus products. I think our products are amazing. I've noticed, I remember Photomax and ProDerm and some other things which didn't go very far. But I think, this is the potential to be a home run. In the meantime, they're amazing products. The tip of my spear, the collagen, the Lumi Spa IO, the WellSpa IO. I mean, who cares if this isn't a home run? We've got singles, doubles, and triples that we can do. And the idea is to build your business ahead of time and paddle before this wave hits. So I'm going to, rewind actually to the founding of the company. And this is a major innovation I think, and I've studied this industry, multi-level marketing and network marketing, since I was introduced to New Skin. Fortunately, New Skin was my first company. I bought stock in Amway Asia Pacific when it came out, and it doubled, and now Amway's in real trouble. Most of the network marketing companies, by the way, are in real trouble. We've had some challenges, but it looks like we might be one of the last ones standing. This is what I studied at Harvard Business School. This is traditional distribution. There's many mouths who have to be fed. A huge amount of money being spent, at advertising us to fool us to want the products. Huge amount at retail. If you're in a mall and paying, commercial rents, it's expensive, and then the result is only, ingredient costs of 1 to 5% and a questionable quality. So we started in the beginning actually kind of selling door to door, and that didn't work because mom wasn't home once she went to work to pay the mortgage and buy the groceries and keep up. And so we went to catalog and then in phone sales, and now over the internet. Everything is direct, and as a result, we've eliminated everyone except that the promotion bit. And as a result, our ingredient cost is 22% on average, and it's the highest quality. And hopefully I've made that clear, with some of the products that I've explained. We pay our distributors 41% to do that activity on the left, and we're providing more and more support, with pictures and smug mug for social media. The company's doing more with us, and OTG is an absolute blessing with training programs for us. But if you look at the structure, I'm a numbers guy. Almost 90% of our membership are customers. They're lined up for our anti-aging coffee in 50 markets around the world. And only around 10% of us are either baristas serving the coffee part-time. We treat it like a hobby, pay for our products and so forth. And there's really only, 3% of us that are in middle and upper management. And that, people look at that and go, it's a pyramid, only 1% are me. And they say, hold on. First of all, it's 1% of 12%, which is 8%. And look at traditional corporate pyramids where, you've got one person at the top making, $50 million, 6 senior vice presidents, traditionally white males, making, $1 million, and everyone else 60,000 who gets the rank and file gets laid off every 2 years. Everything is a pyramid. Get over yourself. It's really it's a system of command and control, and ours is the reverse of traditional pyramids in that we don't make money unless we help others. We don't lift ourselves up unless we lift other people up. It's really an incredible dynamic. This is the napkin presentation. Amway started this. They go at only 3 levels. We go at 5 levels, and we pay 5%, and now 10% and 15%. If you take once you get to a certain level, if you add up all these pebbles in the pond, it's 20,000 users, and let's say their families, they consume $100 a month, and some will consume more. We probably consume $800 a month in my family, and there'll be attrition. There always is in every business, but this is the amazing leverage of this business, and there's no one, to my knowledge, with a compensation system like ours. I compare our business to franchising. If you know the history of franchising, and this was an innovation in the 1950s. That man at the top right is Ray Kroc. He stole McDonald's franchise. He stole McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers. There's a great film called The Founders with Michael Keaton, who I love as Ray Kroc. And you got to see it. It's a great story about McDonald's and about business. So the McDonald brothers thought they were selling hamburgers, and Ray knew that he was selling a business opportunity, primarily to veterans returning from the Korean War and also still World War II. And they'd been in a pyramid called the military, and they didn't want to work in another one, particularly if it's not a meritocracy like the military should be and often is. But, corporations are not. It's, family gets ahead, and, who kisses butt better than others. And but they knew that running your own business is risky. Some 95% of businesses do fail. 80% in the first year, and of the survivors, 80% in years 2 through 5. It's about a 4% survival rate. You have a better chance of surviving cancer than you do entrepreneurship. And we only hear about the success stories, and many others start businesses, use up their savings and their Uncle Ernie's savings, and Uncle Ernie won't speak to them at Thanksgiving anymore when it goes wrong. What is a franchise but a system? The French fries taste the same in Times Square and Tiananmen Square and Red Square. And you actually the problem was after the golden arches, there were silver arches and bronze arches. And the systems weren't as good. And the French fry machine would break down, and the silver arches, they wouldn't answer the phone. And, the bronze arches, they would just collect $15,000. And McDonald's was $85,000 in 1957. But the bronze arches were cheaper, and they would collect money from 200 entrepreneurs, and they'd just take off to Tahiti. It was the Wild West. Franchising was almost banned in 7 states, including Hawaii, where the Attorney General introduced legislation. They called it a pyramid scam. Why is Ray Kroc getting 5%? And what now? Franchising is over 50% of US retail sales. You see them everywhere. It is a viable form of business. It's a system. It's certainly not freedom. A lot of our top leaders, own franchises, and really owning franchises is like herding feral cats, 19-year-olds who don't show up for work, or, aging seniors who are, struggling with their health while they fill up the French fries. It's basically what's happened. Why are franchises now successful? Well, systems were put in place. There were regulations passed, an industry, self-regulatory board. But the main thing is that the barriers to entry went up. And, now it's $1.5 million to buy a McDonald's franchise. People don't do it on a lark. They have to usually borrow money from a bank, and it's, serious businesses are buying them, not individuals. Individuals still can buy franchises, the smaller ones, and, whatever jelly tea or whatever those things, bubble tea, you can buy those for not a lot of money. But, again, it's not freedom. You have to man that bubble tea counter all the time. And what is our business? But really, it's a virtual franchise without paying rent, without employees, without inventory. All the legal is taken care of. New products are developed all the time. And all we have to do is use the products and promote them and learn how to do that ethically and well. And if there's a better, and we're in 50 countries around the world. And by the way, the business is free. And that's both a blessing and a curse. Because it's free, people will join. They'll get 3 no's. They refuse to get the training because no, I've got this. I don't need to go to, Success Summit on July 13th to 15th and learn System 7. I got this. I've been 20 years in business. No, it's a very different form of business. If you had that attitude with McDonald's and didn't do their 3-month hamburger university, they wouldn't sell you the franchise. They boot you out the second day from wherever it is in Michigan that they do the train. So that's really what our business is. And it's a completely modern franchise, online, worldwide, 2 billion people on Facebook, 3.5 billion on various social media that can be contacted. It's so suited for what's going on. People have been conditioned by the pandemic to work from home, and you can do this from your phone in the cracks of a very busy life and build a business while you're juggling Katrina and Caroline and, your divorced husband who's nasty to you and, working 2 jobs and trying to get out of driving Uber. It's an amazing phenomenon that I think is as suited to, in my view, as any business I've ever seen. And that's our vision, to become the world's leading business opportunity platform. And our mission statement, I think this one's a little out of date. They've changed the order of it, but I like the original one, is to be a force for good throughout the world by empowering people to improve lives with rewarding business opportunities, innovative products, and an enriching and uplifting culture. And just a tip of my hat to Pat and Marguerite, who really, personify this. They're the ones who've had me speak today. They're going to be doing the Zoom, they're the ones who sponsored the Zoom spa, and others, not in their pay line are helping with that. And that's an amazing thing. It's the first 2 weeks of the first, 4 nights in the US and mornings in Asia. For the first 2 weeks of the month, the face is first, and then the body is the second week. You've got to tune in. If you don't, you're not getting trained in using the products, and you're not going to get a great product experience, and you're certainly not going to be very good at promoting our product. So I will end with this. Again, I came for the the immunity. I signed on for the annuity, and I stay for the community of people like you and Pat and Marguerite and all of us. I will see you at Success Summit in July, and I have an Airbnb and might have some openings there. If anyone wants to come to Moab after to see Arches National Park, I'm going to spend a couple days there. Utah is beautiful parts of it. Do I have any questions? I'll take, and then I've got a BNI coffee hour at the top of this next hour I'm going to hop onto. Is there any questions about the Well Spa IO? I probably can't answer it. Let's see if I can take people off of mute. Anyone wants to, I don't know if you can raise hands or something. Mute all.
Did you want to stop the recording before the questions?
Yeah, thanks for the reminder of that. I'll stop streaming it at any.
Recording stopped.
Thank you. And I'll stop the live stream. Yeah, because some of the questions can be not
tricky.
good with compliance.